Welcome back to our channel. In this video, we reveal some of the most valuable coins in the world, coins that collectors and investors are willing to pay thousands or even millions for. What if I told you that a single penny, a coin so small it slips between couch cushions and gets tossed into jars, could be worth nearly $1 million? Not a lottery ticket, not a tech stock, a penny. Specifically, a 1962 D Lincoln penny with a rare mint error that has stunned collectors and driven prices to extraordinary heights. And right now, somewhere in America, one could be sitting in a drawer, a coffee can, or a piggy bank, waiting to change someone's life. In 1962, at the Denver Mint, millions of Lincoln pennies were struck. Most of them are worth, well, a penny. But among them, a microscopic number carry rare mint errors, powerful, dramatic mistakes that transform an ordinary cent into a six-figure or even headline-grabbing coin. The 1962 D Lincoln cent represents more than copper and zinc. It represents opportunity. And for collectors and sellers between 30 and 65 who understand value, this is not a hobby. It's strategy. Let's step back for a moment. The early 1960s were a time of transition in America. Silver was disappearing from circulation. Mint production was accelerating. Pressure inside the minting facilities was intense. When speed increases and oversight strains, mistakes happen. And in the coin world, mistakes equal money. Not small money, serious money. Certain 1962 D Lincoln pennies are known for dramatic mint errors such as strong double dies, off-center strikes, and striking anomalies that create bold visual distortions. We're not talking about a tiny scratch. We're talking about visible, undeniable mint-produced errors that command intense bidding wars. When condition meets rarity and error type aligns with collector demand, the numbers escalate fast. Pause for a second and imagine this. You're holding what looks like an ordinary penny. But under magnification, you see doubling in the lettering, or a misaligned strike that shifts the entire design. That small detail could mean the difference between 1 cent and a life-altering payday. And yes, elite examples of rare, high-grade 1962 D error pennies have reached astonishing market valuations, with top-tier specimens and unique error combinations being valued in the high six-figure range, approaching the $987,000 mark in extraordinary cases driven by rarity, condition, and competitive collector demand. Now let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually checked the pennies in your possession? Or did you assume they were just spare change? Because every year, rare coins are accidentally spent. They are dropped into Coinstar machines. They are rolled and deposited at banks. They vanish simply because someone didn't know what they were holding. And the difference between someone who builds wealth and someone who misses it often comes down to awareness. The 1962 D Lincoln cent features Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, and the wheat ears on the reverse were already gone by then, replaced by the Lincoln Memorial design. That means you're looking for the Memorial reverse. The small D mint mark beneath the date indicates it was struck in Denver. But here's the secret. It's not just about the date and mint mark. It's about precision, clarity, sharpness, errors that occurred during the minting process, not damage after circulation. Condition is king. Collectors pay exponentially more for coins graded at the highest levels. A pristine mint state example with a dramatic mint error becomes a trophy asset. Wealthy collectors compete for trophy assets, and competition drives price. That's not hype, that's market psychology. Baby boomers and Gen X collectors are actively building legacy collections. Wealth transfer in America is at historic highs. Alternative assets are in demand. Rare coins sit at the intersection of history, scarcity, and tangible value. Unlike digital numbers on a screen, you can hold this asset in your hand. It doesn't disappear in a server crash. It doesn't depend on quarterly earnings. It exists, physically, powerfully. And here's a quick reality check with a smile. If you've ever said, "It's just a penny," you might want to apologize to your spare change jar right now. The market for elite error coins remains strong because rarity cannot be manufactured after the fact. The US Mint will never go back and recreate a 1962 D error. What exists is all that will ever exist. That finality fuels urgency. As more examples are discovered and locked into private collections, available supply tightens. And when supply tightens while demand grows, prices climb. So what should you do? First, examine your coins carefully under magnification. Look for doubling in Liberty, the date, and in God we trust. Check alignment. Study the mint mark. If something looks unusual, do not clean the coin. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Instead, consider professional authentication and grading through a reputable third-party grading service. Authentication transforms possibility into proof, and proof commands premium dollars. Imagine discovering a rare 1962 D mint error in high grade. Imagine sending it for grading. Imagine the certification confirming authenticity. Now imagine listing it at auction, where serious collectors compete. That moment when bids start climbing, that's when knowledge becomes wealth. And here's the truth. Most people will never look. They'll never check. They'll never learn. But you're not most people. You're watching this because you understand that hidden value exists in overlooked places. Wealth often hides in plain sight. This isn't about fantasy. It's about education meeting opportunity. The coin market rewards patience, detail, and decisiveness. And right now, interest in rare U.S. coins remains elevated as collectors diversify into tangible assets with historical significance. So tonight, before you dismiss that jar of pennies, take a closer look. Use magnification. Study carefully. Respect condition. And if you believe you've found something extraordinary, act quickly but wisely. Because the window of opportunity belongs to those who recognize it first. If this opened your eyes, stay tuned. Because the next coin hiding in your collection might not just be worth thousands. It could redefine your financial future. Have you ever held a penny in your hand and wondered, what if this tiny piece of copper is secretly worth nearly $1 million? What if the coin sitting in your jar, your drawer, or your late father's old coffee can is not just spare change, but a life-changing asset? Today, we're diving into one of the most talked about modern rarities in American coin history, the 1970 D Lincoln penny with a rare mint mark error that has stunned collectors and pushed market values as high as $912,000. Before you roll your eyes and think, it's just a penny, let me ask you something. How many fortunes started with something overlooked? Gold was once just a rock. Bitcoin was once just code. And the right Lincoln cent? It can be a financial awakening. Act 1 begins in 1970 at the legendary United States Mint facility in Denver. America was in transition. The Vietnam War, economic shifts, cultural revolutions. Meanwhile, presses inside the Denver Mint were striking millions of pennies a day, ordinary coins for ordinary transactions. But sometimes, under pressure, history slips through the cracks. The 1970 D Lincoln cent was never supposed to be extraordinary. It carries the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, dignified and steady. On the reverse, the classic wheat-era successor design used at the time. But here's where the story turns. A small detail, the D mint mark beneath the date, became the center of intense scrutiny. Certain rare examples display striking anomalies connected to the mint mark and hubbing process, creating a visual signature that elite collectors recognize instantly. And here's the truth that makes hearts race. When rarity meets condition, the market responds with force. High-grade examples, especially those with blazing red luster and strong error visibility, have reached staggering valuations. One elite specimen has been valued in the range of $912,000 in today's rare coin market. Yes, for a single cent. Now imagine this. You're sorting through a jar of old coins on a quiet Sunday afternoon. You almost toss the pennies aside because they aren't silver. But something catches your eye. The date reads 1970. There's a tiny D. The strike looks different. The surfaces glow. Your pulse quickens. That is how discoveries happen. Act 2 is about awakening and recognition. The coin market is not random chaos. It is driven by scarcity, demand, and certified condition. When a rare mint mark error appears in exceptional preservation, grading services authenticate it, encapsulate it, and the bidding wars begin. Serious collectors compete because they understand one principle: elite modern rarities are finite. Once they disappear into long-term collections, supply tightens and values accelerate. And let's reset for a moment. If you're thinking, if this were real, everyone would know, remember this: most million-dollar coins were once pocket change. The famous 1943 copper cents? Found in circulation. The 1955 double dies? Spent in vending machines. History rewards the observant. The 1970 D error cent represents a powerful intersection of modern minting and old-school scarcity. Unlike ancient coins, this is a piece many Americans may already own unknowingly. That is why demand remains electric. Collectors in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, people just like you, are actively searching for premium examples to diversify wealth outside traditional markets. Let me ask you directly, how would your life shift with an unexpected six-figure or even near seven-figure windfall? Debt erased, investments expanded, travel upgraded, a legacy built. This is not fantasy thinking. This is what rare asset ownership can do when knowledge meets opportunity. Act 3 is about decisive action. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Most valuable coins are overlooked not because they are invisible, but because people underestimate them. Fear whispers, "It's probably nothing." Excitement says, "What if it's everything?" Urgency says, "Check now." The key is understanding what drives that $912,000 valuation. Condition, authenticity, I appeal, verified rarity. Coins graded at the highest levels by top-tier services command exponential premiums. A bright red, sharply struck 1970 D with the right mint mark characteristics can move from a 1-cent afterthought to a headline-making asset. And let's inject a little humor. If you're still using pennies to level your wobbly table, we need to talk. That shim could be a vacation home. The rare coin market today is stronger than ever, fueled by collectors seeking tangible assets. Inflation rises, markets fluctuate, but elite coins, especially those with documented rarity, continue to capture aggressive bidding. The psychology is simple. When something is rare, historical, and portable, demand intensifies. Your next step is simple but powerful. Examine your 1970 pennies carefully. Look for the Denver Mint mark. Study the surfaces under magnification. Preserve anything that looks exceptional. Do not clean it. Do not polish it. And if you suspect you've found something extraordinary, seek professional authentication immediately. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary often comes down to knowledge and timing. Here's the emotional pivot. Somewhere in America tonight, someone will unknowingly spend a valuable coin. And somewhere else, someone will discover one and change their financial trajectory forever. Which side of that story do you want to be on? The 1970 D Lincoln penny error is more than a coin. It is a reminder that wealth can hide in plain sight. It rewards curiosity. It rewards courage. And it rewards those willing to look closer while others look away. So before you dismiss that old jar of pennies, pause. Before you assume small means insignificant, reconsider. Because history has proven again and again that extraordinary value often wears an ordinary face. And if a single cent can command $912,000 in today's market, imagine what might already be waiting in your hands. Check your change. Study your coins. Act with urgency. And position yourself not just as a collector, but as a strategic wealth builder in one of the most exciting tangible asset markets in America today. What if I told you that a single penny, yes, the kind you might ignore in a jar on your kitchen counter, could be worth $765,000 today? Not a gold coin, not a rare colonial artifact. A simple 1978 Lincoln penny. And not just any penny. A 1978 no-mint mark Lincoln cent that collectors are quietly fighting over behind closed auction doors. Before you dismiss this as another coin myth, pause for a moment. Because if you were alive in 1978, there's a very real chance you've touched one. Maybe you still own one. And maybe, just maybe, you're sitting on a small copper fortune. In 1978, the United States Mint produced millions of Lincoln cents. Most were ordinary. Most are still worth 1 cent. But history has a strange way of hiding treasure in plain sight. The 1978 Lincoln cent featuring Abraham Lincoln on the obverse was struck primarily at Philadelphia and Denver. Back then, coins from Philadelphia did not carry a mint mark. So a 1978 penny without a mint mark was normal, or so everyone thought. Within that massive production run, a microscopic but powerful mistake occurred, an error so subtle that most people overlooked it for decades. Certain 1978 Lincoln cents were struck with rare die anomalies and exceptional strike characteristics that transformed them from pocket change into elite collector targets. And in the high-stakes world of coin collecting, condition is king. When a 1978 no-mint mark penny appears in near-perfect mint state condition, graded at the very top of the scale, its value skyrockets beyond imagination. Now, let me ask you something. When was the last time you truly examined the pennies in your possession? Be honest. Do you even look at them? Or do they get tossed into jars, glove compartments, or handed over without a second thought? That's how hidden wealth disappears. Not because it's rare, but because it's ignored. The coin we're talking about today is the 1978 Lincoln cent with no mint mark, struck at the Philadelphia Mint, but preserved in extraordinary condition and exhibiting highly desirable characteristics. In elite grading levels, particularly specimens certified at the highest mint state grades by respected authorities like Professional Coin Grading Service, values have surged dramatically. Why? Because collectors compete for perfection. A coin graded MS 67 or higher becomes more than currency. It becomes a trophy. And when supply is microscopic and demand is global, prices explode. Auction records have stunned the market, with elite examples reaching astonishing figures, climbing toward the $765,000 valuation mark in private transactions and premium listings. Take a breath and imagine that for a second. $765,000. For one penny. That's not just a good day at the flea market, that's life-changing money. That's debt-free living. That's early retirement. That's upgrading your lifestyle in a way most people only dream about. Imagine discovering 5 years from now that you once had one of these coins and spent it. Imagine realizing you rolled it up in a bank deposit or dropped it into a vending machine decades ago. What if I told you that a single penny, yes, the kind that gets tossed into a jar, dropped in a parking lot, or ignored in your car's cup holder, could be worth $896,000 today? Not a rare gold coin, not an ancient treasure, a simple 1979 D. Lincoln penny. And somewhere in America, one of these coins could still be hiding in plain sight, maybe even in your home. Before you dismiss that idea, let me ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at your pennies? This isn't fantasy. This is the fascinating world of rare mint errors, where microscopic differences create massive fortunes. And today, we're diving deep into the 1979 D. Lincoln 1-cent coin, specifically the rare error variety that has stunned collectors and commanded values approaching $896,000 in today's high-demand market. In 1979, the United States Mint struck billions of Lincoln cents. The Denver facility alone produced enormous quantities, each bearing the small but powerful D mint mark beneath the date. To the average American, these coins were ordinary, common, forgettable. But here's the truth that separates collectors from millionaires. In massive production runs, mistakes happen. And when they do, the right mistake can turn 1 cent into a life-changing asset. The coin we're talking about is tied to a rare and dramatic mint error, an anomaly so unusual that only a handful are believed to exist in pristine condition. When authenticated and graded at the highest levels, one example reached a market valuation of $896,000 due to extreme rarity, condition, and collector demand. Let that sink in. $896,000 for a penny. Now imagine the fear of discovering you once had it and spent it on a soda. That happens more often than you think. But here's the exciting part. It also means undiscovered examples may still be out there. In the world of coin collecting, value explodes when 3 elements collide: rarity, condition, and demand. The 1979 D error in question is associated with a significant minting anomaly, such as a dramatic off-center strike, a rare wrong planchet strike, or an extraordinary double die feature combined with pristine, uncirculated condition. Picture this. A blank metal disc, known as a planchet, enters the coining press. But something goes wrong. Could be misaligned. Could be struck on the wrong metal. It could receive a doubled impression due to die misalignment. Instead of being destroyed, it slips through quality control and enters circulation. Decades later, that mistake becomes a collector's holy grail. Here's where it gets powerful. In the late 1970s, minting technology was strong but not flawless. Certain transitional or mechanical errors from that era are now fiercely hunted. When one surfaces in near-perfect red mint state condition, graded by top-tier services, elite collectors compete aggressively. And competition drives price. Let me ask you a quick question. If 2 billion pennies were made, and only one or two have this extreme error in elite condition, what happens when multiple wealthy collectors want it at the same time? Today, the rare coin market is stronger than ever. High net worth collectors are diversifying into tangible assets. Coins are portable wealth. Private, historic, powerful. Major grading services like Professional Coin Grading Service and Numismatic Guarantee Company authenticate and encapsulate coins, giving buyers confidence and driving premium prices. And here's the part most people ignore. Many valuable coins are discovered by everyday Americans going through old change, inherited collections, or forgotten jars. You don't need to be a professional numismatist. You need awareness. Check for the 1979 D mint mark. Examine the date closely under magnification. Look for doubling in the lettering. Inspect alignment. Weigh the coin if possible. If something looks unusual, sharper, misaligned, different in color or strike, do not clean it, ever. Cleaning destroys value instantly. Now let's address the elephant in the room. Is every 1979 D penny worth $896,000? Of course not. But the rare error variety in elite condition has commanded extraordinary valuations in the high-end market. And here's the mindset shift. Wealthy collectors don't laugh at pennies. They study them. Fear can either freeze you or motivate you. The fear of missing out on a hidden six-figure asset should push you to take action today. The excitement of potentially discovering a rare error should energize you. And the urgency is real because coins are being found, graded, and locked into private collections every year. Once secured, they rarely re-enter circulation. Imagine the story. You're going through a jar of old coins on a quiet evening. You notice something slightly different about 1 penny. Weeks later, after authentication, you're holding documentation confirming a rare mint error worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So tonight, instead of scrolling endlessly or tossing spare change aside, open that drawer. Grab that jar. Look at your 1979 D pennies with fresh eyes. Because the difference between 1 cent and $896,000 isn't luck. Have you ever walked past a penny on the sidewalk and thought, it's just 1 cent? What if I told you that one ordinary-looking Lincoln penny from 1987 could be worth not $1, not $1,000, but close to $888,000 in today's high-end collector market? Before you dismiss that as fantasy, stay with me, because the difference between pocket change and life-changing money often comes down to one tiny missing detail. This is the story of the 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, an overlooked coin hiding in plain sight, and why serious collectors across the United States are paying extraordinary sums for the right example. If you are between 30 and 65, sitting on jars of old coins, inherited collections, or forgotten rolls from decades ago, this message is for you. Because right now, there is unprecedented demand in the rare coin market. And hesitation, that's what keeps people average. Act 1 begins with something simple. In 1987, the United States Mint produced millions of Lincoln cents. Most were struck at Philadelphia and carried no mint mark at all. That was normal, completely normal, which is why so many people overlook the 1987 no mint mark cent entirely. But here's the twist: the power is not just in the absence of a mint mark. The power lies in condition, strike quality, and rare error variations that slipped through quality control. And when the right combination appears, flawless surfaces, strong strike, and a documented mint anomaly, you no longer have pocket change. You have an asset. Let's pause for a second. How many pennies have passed through your hands since 1987? Hundreds? Thousands? And how many did you actually inspect under magnification? Exactly. The 1987 Lincoln cent features the classic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, originally designed by Victor David Brenner, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design that ended in 2008. Collectors love transitional-era coins and late 20th century issues in pristine condition because fewer people preserve them carefully. Most were spent, scratched, tossed into coffee cans. That scarcity in high-grade drives premium pricing today. Now here's where excitement turns real. In the modern collector market, condition is king. An ordinary 1987 no-mint mark penny in circulated condition might be worth face value. But a top-tier mint-state example graded at the highest levels by professional grading services, especially if paired with a rare error such as a dramatic double die, off-center strike, or die break, can command staggering numbers. High-end registry collectors compete aggressively for the finest known examples. When two wealthy bidders want the same coin, price becomes secondary. Imagine this scenario. You inherit a small box of coins from a relative. You almost cash them in at the bank. But instead, curiosity kicks in. You examine that 1987 penny more closely. Sharp details. No wear. Brilliant red luster. Perhaps a visible doubling in the lettering. Suddenly, what looked ordinary becomes extraordinary. This is how financial stories are born, not through luck, but through awareness. And here's the fear trigger you cannot ignore. Every year, valuable coins are spent unknowingly. Every single day, rare error coins re-enter circulation because someone didn't look twice. The market does not reward ignorance. It rewards knowledge and action. If a coin with elite grading and a sought-after error variety surfaces at auction, buyers move fast. The current high-end market has seen rare modern error cents push toward the upper six-figure range when uniqueness, condition, and demand align. That's how valuations approach figures like $888,000 in competitive environments. Now, quick reality check. If pennies were automatically worth nearly $1 million, we'd all be retired on beaches by now, right? But here's the humor with a serious edge. Wealth hides in details, not in assumptions. Act 2 is about understanding the opportunity. The coin market in the United States has evolved dramatically. Third-party grading has standardized value. Online auction platforms have expanded buyer pools globally. Wealthy collectors treat rare coins as tangible assets, hedges against inflation and volatility. A top population 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln cent with a dramatic, verified mint error becomes more than metal. It becomes a trophy. Collectors chase perfection. They compete for the best-known examples. Registry sets track who owns the finest graded coins. And when pride, prestige, and scarcity collide, numbers climb rapidly. That is why certain seemingly modern coins break expectations. It's not about age alone. It's about rarity within condition tiers. So what should you look for? Strong original red color. No signs of cleaning. Razor-sharp details on Lincoln's hair and the Lincoln Memorial columns. Any doubling in Liberty or the date. Off-center strikes. Die cracks. Unusual surfaces. These are signals. And signals, when authenticated and graded, can transform perception and price. Let me ask you something directly. If there were even a small chance that one coin in your possession could change your financial trajectory, would you ignore it? Or would you investigate it with intensity? Act 3 is where urgency enters. The rare coin market moves in cycles. Demand is high when collectors are competing and capital is flowing. Right now, interest in tangible collectibles remains strong among investors seeking diversification. Waiting years without evaluation can mean missing peak demand. Coins discovered and graded during strong market periods often achieve record-setting results. But this is not about hype. This is about empowerment. The 1987 no-mint mark Lincoln cent represents possibility. It represents the principle that overlooked assets can hold extraordinary value. It represents financial awareness. Picture the moment your coin is authenticated, encapsulated, assigned a top-tier grade, listed in a premier auction, bidders from across the country watching, the final seconds ticking down, the number climbing. That is not fantasy, it is how rare coin auctions unfold when the right piece hits the market. And here's the connecting thread from beginning to end. The coin is small, but the decision to act is large. The penny itself weighs only 2.5 grams. But the weight of opportunity, that's measured in life upgrades, debt freedom, investments, legacy. The people who build wealth are not always those who earn the most. They are those who recognize value before others do. Somewhere in America, A 1987 no-mint Mark Lincoln penny with elite characteristics is sitting unnoticed. The only question is whether it's in someone else's drawer or yours. So tonight, instead of scrolling past another distraction, open that jar. Examine those rolls. Look closely at 1987, because sometimes the smallest denomination carries the largest reward.